Do you guys have a La Colombe out there, Randy?
No.
It's like a coffee shop. They make these like nitro coffees that you can get on draft at the store, or you can get them at their coffee shops, but then you can get them in the store in like little nitro cans.
I do like nitro coffee.
Oh man, and they make this triple espresso one, and every time I buy it, I just am like losing my fucking mind. It's like insane. I don't know what it is, man, but yeah, that stuff's intense.
That's great.
Hey everybody, welcome to Pursuing Pixels. This is episode 8, and my name's Kevin Portelli, and I'm here tonight with Randall Nolery.
Hey everybody.
And DJ Mandolini.
That's me.
And how are you guys doing?
Awesome.
Finally
ready to
got
record.
a response for once. For once.
I was ready
once
for it
we're
this
ready
time.
to record.
We're done giving you the cold shoulder, Kevin.
Only warm shoulders now.
Ooh, nice. I'll nuzzle right up to those. All right, well, we'll just dive right into it per usual here. Last week, we decided we were going to play a little hashtag Breakforcist Battle.
Yes.
That's kind of spelt, just to spell it out real quick, it's like I don't know, it's basically breakfast and exorcist.
Yes.
Combined with the front and back half of those words. But yeah, just look it up, I guess. It's hard to, I'm not going to spell it out. But yeah, it's a 2D... breakout clone essentially.
Yep.
With a bunch of interesting ideas. It has a bunch of different multiplayer elements, both co-op and multiplayer modes. There's co-op and there's just like a versus mode, and then there's kind of like a high score mode. But we all kind of decided we were going to play through some of that this week. It's a game that I've put personally a pretty decent amount of time into. But I've played a handful of times with DJ and a few friends over the years, and I think this was pretty new to you, Randy. I shouldn't say over the years, or over the course of the last year or so.
Yeah.
But and then this was a pretty new one to you, right, Randy?
Yeah, completely new. This week was my first opportunity to play, so happy to have that opportunity. Another puzzler, another competitive puzzler, so of course we have
right up your alley.
Yeah, and definitely more of an action-focused
yes.
puzzler. It's not... there's a lot of luck involved with the different power-ups and whatnot you can get, which we'll get into that. Were you able to play any multiplayer, Randall? Were you able to play any with Tina or with any friends or anything?
Yeah, so Tina and I played some of the co-op or arcade mode, as they call it, but we played the 2-player co-op of that, where you're kind of on the same screen, but you only take half a screen each, and you're basically just trying to clear that screen as if you would in the single player, but with 2 sets of paddles and the one screen
and
so.
half size paddles. DJ and I were just playing the same mode, so like DJ was on the left half of the screen, and you cannot move past the middle.
Yeah, which takes a little getting used to.
Yeah, but I really like that. And I do think it's interesting how they keep like 2 separate scores for each player, which only corresponds to that player's ball or balls. If you get like a multi-ball power up.
I thought
that was interesting how it keeps the score, but at the end of the day, it just tallies it all together, and you just get like a final, total score, which is what goes on the high score. Which unfortunately, this game does not have any leaderboards.
I know. What's the deal
or anything
with that?
like that? That's a huge bummer for a game that, I mean, I was pretty hooked on just trying to chase my own high scores, but like once I felt like I had a run that was just like, this game gets frantic, like beyond frantic so fast, especially in single player.
Yes.
Or in the 2-player arcade mode, I should say. But in multiplayer, if you play versus, we've played 4 players with some friends a few times.
Gosh.
And it's what's cool is there's totally different power-ups. There's different it'll, if you get I forget what the power-up's called, but reverse or whatever it is, it'll like flip the other 3 characters upside down.
Yeah.
Were you able to play versus mode as well?
Yeah.
Randall?
We played a round of versus as well, and kind of saw the different options there too. So
yeah, there's quite a few different things, and when you're playing single player, you can get a shield, which is crucial to keep your high score running and your combos going, and or not your combos so much with the shield, but just to keep that run alive. So there's a lot of luck involved, but I'm somebody who can really get suckered into these high score chasing games, even if I am just chasing my own high score. I mean, I played the shit out of Yoshi Touch and Go for the Nintendo.
Oh, man.
Nintendo DS. Just trying to break my high score. Like, can I get further than I got before? And it's not a great game by any means, but I just, games like Downwell or whatever. Not that this is a direct comparison or anything, but yeah, just something about chasing that high score, or chasing that combo, or trying to best myself.
Right.
Really, again, the leaderboards would be huge, although I would then find out how not good I am at this game. But
yeah, but it gives you something to strive for even more than just your local high scores then. That
exactly,
could add a lot.
Exactly. Or at least see, we could see each other's high scores and whatnot. But what about you, DJ? You've been a little quiet over there.
Well, this is my first Breakout game, so I'm actually curious what you think. What's unique about this one, aside from the breakfast theme? Like you're knocking down waffles in this game.
I mean, if you go all the way back, I think the original Breakout or Arkanoid, I don't know which one was the original, but I'm pretty sure there's like nothing in regards of power ups or anything like that. I think it's pretty strictly like you're just hitting the bricks. I think there are some of those bricks, like in this game, there's like the red waffles that take, you have hit them once, then they turn into a golden waffle, and then you hit them one more time and they're gone. I think there are those like double things that you have to hit, or there's like different like metal blocks that you can't break, and you just have to avoid them, and you just have to break all the blocks on the screen. And I don't think things like come down. Like the bricks or the waffles in this case aren't coming down from the top of the screen, kind of like they do in a puzzle game, like they're getting pushed down.
Right.
Where it's in Breakout, you're just trying to break all the bricks without letting the ball get past you. So in this game, you're only taking the slight punishment of just losing some time.
Yeah.
When you miss the ball, and then
exactly. Okay.
Although Arkanoid does give you a laser upgrade. I got to throw that in
okay.
there.
Okay.
So I thought I remembered that.
Do you know which one's first, Randy? Breakout or Arkanoid?
Trying to figure out. I think Breakout's first because on the Wikipedia page for Arkanoid, it says the genre is Breakout. So that should...
Okay.
Yeah. There you go.
It's not even a clone. It's just like the genre. I think that's pretty definitive. Yeah.
Yeah.
You heard it here first on Pursuing Pixels.
Yeah, Breakout was first on Atari.
Awesome. But yeah, that's the main difference is you're not and the frantic nature, it's more Breakout can be more of like a endurance kind of game. You're just trying to like last out, just like even if you're not breaking the bricks, it's just like, okay, I just got to keep it going until I can get that perfect shot. And there's no punishment for time. Maybe I don't know. Maybe there is a timer on the levels. I don't remember.
Got it.
But yeah, there's not that frantic, like just everything pushing down, and the music is just speeding up, almost instantaneously. And this is like the music itself is already pretty intense. Like, I don't know what genre we were talking about it a little bit. It's like EDM, yeah, techno, whatever you want to call it. But just like it already is super intense, and a lot of the songs have lyrics about breakfast and waffles and and whatnot. It's pretty goofy.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it just instantly, especially when you're playing with a group of friends, it really gets you sucked into the I don't know, the tone that the game is setting. You just
anxiety.
And you just get kind of amped up with the game when you're playing with friends. And I don't know how I used to play this game before bed. I would just play it handheld on my Switch a few rounds and then call it a night.
Were you actually successful doing that? Yeah,
that's when I got my high score.
Oh, man.
My high score, which what's your high score so far, Randall?
Oh God, I don't even know offhand. I can look. Let me look.
I know mine was like, we were just playing, so mine was like $526,000. It's all in like money. Yeah. But it was a fluke run. Like my next best run was like about half that many points or half that much money.
That's nuts.
So, but yeah, it has a real like kind of cutesy, cartoonish art style.
I like the art style is cool. Like a lot of pastels, just like tons of color. I do. Yeah, like
and the characters are goofy. Like I always pick this like dog that's like popping out of a watermelon or something like that, or a cucumber.
Yeah.
And there's like a purple sheep and a bunch of different just kind of animal.
A unicorn cat. There's all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, which no real effect unlike some of these other puzzle games that are like competitive battlers or whatever. They don't have different power-ups or
Yeah,
different sets of
I was
combos.
kind of
It's
disappointed
all-
in that, to be honest. I felt like they could have done a little bit more to differentiate, like, oh yeah, I'm picking this character. Like, he's got a stupid catchphrase and he's got this like power up, or he can affect the garbage that somebody else gets in this way, or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, even just the catchphrase, it
Yeah.
would have been enough, just a little something. And maybe there is a little bark, but I don't recall
I don't think
anything
so.
with a lot of personality. Yeah.
Maybe the color of the background changes per character. I felt like that was kind of shifting with different character choices, but maybe I'm not sure.
No, I think it does. I think you are correct.
So my high score in solo is only 112,826. So not even
Okay.
close. Not even
Okay.
close.
Yeah, keep trying. Keep trying. Yeah, DJ was having a run already. I was looking
wanted
like
to
he was going to
dethrone
best
you
me.
right
I was like,
away.
get out of here. Shut this
What'd you
off.
get to?
I got 7th on his, which I got like around 200,000.
Oh, that's pretty good
Yeah.
for day one.
Yeah, but
That's pretty
I can't say there's I guess we should get into some of the different power-ups, and there's like little eggs that are dispersed within the waffles that are, you can get some of the standard stuff like multi-ball, or they call it fireball, which will just like go through and break like every brick. Like it won't bounce off the bricks, it'll just keep going in a straight line. And yeah. But there's a bunch of crazy power-ups like that'll turn into like a giant pancake, and all the power-ups will stack. So if you get multi-ball and giant pancake, it's like all the multi-balls turn into these giant pancakes, which are huge.
Yeah.
And you can get like lightning bolts and bacon lasers, and that allow you to almost turn it into a shmup for a quick second and shoot the bricks that are in front of you without having to worry about the ball.
Right.
So it just gets real frantic real quick, and it's a good bite size, because of the intense music, at least for me, and the intense gameplay. I'm only usually good for 10 or a dozen rounds.
Yeah.
And I'm usually pretty tapped after that, but it's still a good fun, like one that's, you don't really even have to have any video game experience. Like if you know how to use a joystick,
Right.
which is pretty self-explanatory, or at least can be pretty easily demonstrated.
I mean, there's even a tilt only mode. I tried it. It's impossible, but like,
yeah, I've never
if you
tried it.
want
I can't even imagine.
You can go it without pressing any buttons or moving any joystick. You can just kind of shift back and forth on a controller. So
yeah, but definitely just a go-to game for me when I'm having friends over or just looking to kill a few minutes. The rounds are super bite-sized. A run, as I've been referring to them as, at least, is like maybe a minute, 2 minutes, 3 at the most.
Right.
Yeah,
not more than 5 at the absolute most. I don't know the exact time, but they're really quick.
Yeah, I definitely think the appeal of this game is playing with friends. Like, I mean, I was playing a decent amount of the single player, but I gotta admit, I was mainly concerned with beating your score.
Which again goes to prove that like they really should have leaderboards on this.
Yeah,
because again, even if I was just able to see, okay, I don't stand a chance on these global leaderboards, but if I can filter my friends in, I can see where DJ's at, I can see where Randall's at,
yep,
and at least see where I stack up with my friends. So,
yep,
that's a little bit of a letdown, but.
Yeah, but no, that music and all those power-ups, like, which are unique to this game, I think lend itself to being addictive. Like, I found myself wanting to just go round after round. Like, I wasn't feeling like wanting to stop at any point. So, like, it's hard for me to imagine one of these type of games without that. It's like almost what they should be.
Yeah.
Although I wasn't that big of a fan of the slowdown mechanic. You guys experience that?
The slowdown mechanic?
Like if
there's one left.
Yep. And it's like just
really?
You're really close
past.
to it.
Yeah.
Oh, I really like that. It's like a little bit of that Peggle
It is the
effect.
Peggle thing, but like in a frantic game like that, I feel like it screws with my kind of like flow of the game, the flow state for me in control of it. I don't know.
Huh. That's interesting. It actually kind of pulls me in a little bit. It like gets me in that like, oh, am I gonna get it? Oh, okay, shit, I gotta get back. Like it takes me out and then pulls me back. It makes it feel more frantic, I guess, even though it is slowing it down. But I do really enjoy that. I enjoy most of what this game has to offer. I certainly doesn't have a ton of depth or anything like that.
Yeah.
But that in this particular case, I think that's what shines about this game is that, you know, there are a ton of power-ups that keep things interesting enough, but it's so simple that you can just get any group of friends that you have together to play it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
That's
I don't
really
think
all
we
I have to say about
I don't
it,
think we effectively stated, but there's no online multiplayer either, besides the online high score leaderboards.
Correct. It's all local, local features in general. Yeah.
Would have loved online multiplayer. I know that's a lot more complicated than just the leaderboards, but this game I think would have been a lot of fun with that as well.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And it does suffer a little bit of slowdown, like the times that I've played with some friends, like actual slowdown when I've played with some friends and 4 players.
Yeah.
If there's like a mode where like everyone gets set with the same layout, it's not random. So like when you're playing versus, like all 4 players will have the same layout of waffles and bombs and eggs and whatnot. And if it's
the power ups might not be the same, right?
I don't know. I think they are actually. But I don't know for sure.
Okay.
Like the power ups are always located within the eggs. I don't know if we mentioned that before, but
right.
On the mat, like if everyone's gonna hit a bomb at the same time, like some of them are just laid out where like a bomb is right at the bottom of the, you know, the bricks or whatever, or the waffles.
The bombs knock everything back up.
They knock everything back up, and then they blow,
and then
they blow everything.
Too.
Yeah, and then they blow everything up within their radius. But sometimes they'll, you know, they're laid out in like these predetermined grids. It's not randomly generated, I don't think. I think they're predetermined. And it's like they're fully chained together bombs. So like if everyone's hitting that at the same time, the screen just goes kind of nuts and almost freezes for a second. So it doesn't run perfectly, but again, it's just kind of like a silly game. I definitely don't get serious when I play a game like this, you know. I'm just kind of playing for, you know, talking a little trash and just, you know, killing a little time or just something to do. So I've had a ton of fun with this and gotten my money's worth more than enough times over with this game. So I don't have much more else to say about it, but anything else you guys had to add?
No, glad that I was able to buy it on sale. It's, you know, it's fun for what it is. Glad it's on my Switch.
Is it something that you see yourself going back to, Randall, and revisiting with some friends or revisiting with Tina or?
Maybe once in a while, but like already we have revisited playing more Super Puzzle Fighter. So I think there's other games that are more go-to for this same type of vein than Breakforcist for us.
Yeah.
Do either of you remember what the standard price for this was?
$10.
$10, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I just figured since I'd probably only play this with you that I'll just, you know, mooch off you.
Yeah.
Kevin.
Yeah, again, I definitely... To recommend it, I definitely recommend it as a multiplayer game. I don't recommend it as a single player game.
No.
It is still fun, and I did find myself getting hooked, but without the leaderboards and without some of those extra features and reasons to keep coming back or unlockables or pallets or just something to give you an incentive to play single player other than to just beat your own high scores, I don't feel compelled and don't feel great recommending it on that front. But if you have some friends and you know someone who gets together with people and plays video games on a somewhat regular basis.
Well, and even like you were saying, you don't need to be super well versed in games to be able to pick this game up. So
right.
Just going to a party where there's a Switch or something like that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, that is definitely something in its favor. That's a good point. And there's not a lot of other Breakout clones out there at this point. So that's also something novel for it.
Right.
Okay, so I'm not missing out on some huge genre.
No,
definitely not.
It's a pretty simplistic. It's more that it's just like kind of one of those founding Atari, like very early on. You know, it's single player Pong, basically.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep.
But yeah, if we're going to move on from there, I actually have a handful of games that I've played this week. I know you guys had a little bit of a lighter week, so if you guys are cool, I'll dive into something real quick here.
Take the lead.
Go for it.
Sounds good. Well, I actually DJ and then a buddy of ours, John, who again I think we've mentioned him a handful of times on the podcast now, and I'm sure we'll have him on at some point. But he stuck around for a little bit longer after DJ took off, and we played a little Splatoon 2, which he is a huge fan of. Like, he has put over 100 hours in, I think, or at least close to that. And this is a game that I have just bounced off of, both the original and this one, and not bounced off in the sense that I hated it, but just I didn't get it. I don't know. I just never grabbed me. But John has hyped up this salmon run mode for a really long time, which is basically like a horde mode.
Right.
If you're familiar with stuff like that in like Gears of War or I can't think of any other games, but basically there's just like waves of enemies that keep and this isn't endless waves of enemies. There's basically the way it's set up is like there's 3 waves of enemies that'll come at you, and there's like 7 or 8 different types of bosses that of course you have to go through a tutorial and face off against all of them. And we were like, oh yeah, let's play some Splatoon. And then, oh wait, I gotta play a half hour of bullshit before we can actually play this together.
Oh no.
But but anyways, but that beside the point. If I would have, just to show how little of this game I've played since it came out, I'm still playing tutorials and stuff. And but anyways, once I got that all figured out, we started playing, and it's basically it's a 4-player mode. And you're just playing with, it was us 2, and then obviously 2 other just random people online. And these like waves of salmon, or the salmonids, I think they're called, come in, and there's all these different types of bosses. There's like this like giant like tower enemy that shoots out these like lasers, and then once you kill the boss enemies, and I'm trying to think of some of the other bosses. There's like they call it maws. It like you can see the cursor where it is on the ground, and then it'll like jump up out of the ground and eat you or whatever. And then once you've died, you don't respawn automatically. You have to actually get shot with like ink by your teammates.
Okay.
And this is like a 3rd-person shooter. If you're not familiar, it's just like a 3rd-person squad-based shooter where you shoot out ink, and then you can cover the ground and swim in that ink in like a squid form.
Yeah.
And that's basically the main premise of the game. You basically start with any of 4 random weapons. And there's 3 rounds, and you just have to kill these bosses and collect their like golden eggs and bring them back to your like little cage or net or whatever it is. And you just have to collect enough and defeat all the enemies and not have all your teammates die. And there's just the 3 waves, and it's just about collecting enough. It's pretty pointless in a way.
Sounds fun though.
It was really fun. Yeah, that was the most. I tried playing a little bit of the campaign. I tried playing a little bit online of just like the regular competitive mode, and playing this cooperatively with both with strangers and with and thankfully there's no voice chat. I think there is if you have the Nintendo like phone app.
Yeah.
But you can basically just say, hey, this way, or I need help, or booyah. And those are your only commands. So it's kind of nice. There's like even less than Rocket League, you just
Nintendo.
Can't talk shit.
Yeah.
But it's effective enough. If you died and you need somebody to respawn you can say help.
Yep.
And you float around in like a little inner tube, and you can kind of move around. And it was just I'm not gonna sit here and say I had like the time of my life playing this game, but I was happy to finally get underneath the surface of what Splatoon is offering, and maybe
you get underneath it.
Maybe you can see my the invisible ink.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping I can maybe try to get into this game at some point, because I've seen when they announced that Octo expansion and a few other things, like I really like a lot of what this game has to offer, but just like booting up the game each time and having to sit through the whatever those Squid Sisters are called.
Oh yeah, and where they kind of talk about what's upcoming and here's the
what are the
level
maps for the day. It's like, why don't they just like do that the first time you play the game, or like at least let you skip it. You just can't skip it.
Yep.
You can fastly, you can quickly scroll through the text and stuff, but you can't just skip it.
Yeah,
and it's just, and they change that stuff all the time. It's really like there's a lot of barriers into getting into this game. For me at least, the menus are really obtuse and just unintuitive. Which is actually John was playing a little bit of Smash Brothers. He had his Switch with him, and he was playing a little bit of that after. And it was actually interesting to me to see how much of Splatoon's like menu and interface Smash Brothers has borrowed.
Oh, interesting.
I think it's
what
like,
do you mean?
Just like even like a lot of the things in Splatoon are like made to look like they're like made to hang up on like a retail like hang tab, and like the things in Smash Brothers have that on them. And just, I don't know, just the way it's like you get all these like spirits that you can equip that have different buffs attached to them that are kind of randomized. You can do that with all your outfits and different things you have in Splatoon. It's like,
right.
There's a lot. I don't know. Maybe Smash started doing that stuff first, but I don't think so. But there's a lot of that DNA.
Brawl with some of that stuff. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah. But there's a lot of familiar DNA wherever it came from. There's a lot of crossover between those two, at least what they're, the way the franchises are on the Switch. But yeah, I don't have too much else more to say about it. But I just was having a really good time playing it. But you had a question?
I do have a question. Yeah. I remember on the first one, because I had it on the Wii U, you had a map on the gamepad. Did they make a map easily accessible in this one?
In this mode, there was no map.
Okay. I know what you're talking about, though, DJ, where you can like warp to a specific area of the map really quickly with the touch screen.
And you can just see like who's got what part of the map covered already in ink. And yeah, in the competitive mode, I feel like there is a map of some kind that you can see.
And I think you can quick button press instead of.
Might be touch. Like a Rocket League kind of thing, where you can like hold down like the thing to see the score and stuff.
Okay,
I don't know. We were only playing this salmon run mode, so it was strictly cooperative, and like there wasn't any. It was all about killing the enemies. It had nothing to do with. I mean, you obviously had to cover the ground so that you could travel quickly and refill your ink and all that stuff, but. And all the different bosses and stuff make you utilize your bombs and different weapons and stuff. So it's interesting, but I do really wish that, unfortunately in this mode, most of the modes I think have two different maps that are unlocked at any given moment.
Yeah.
That are just like on some kind of timer that rotates everything out. But in this particular mode, there's only one map at a time. And thankfully at least in this map, there was like a high tide and a low tide and an even lower tide. So like things would change and vary between each wave. And the layout of what was available in each wave, for you to travel on would change, but it was still the same map every time we played. So I do wish there was a little more variety in that regard. And even in the regard of, at any moment, there's only 2 multiplayer maps in the regular competitive modes. I don't know. There's so much content in these games. I just wish they would really
make it available.
Yeah, make it available for you to pick and play, especially, if you want to play with some friends. Like, I just want to play this mode or I just want to play this level with my friends.
Yeah, especially with friends. Like, on regular public online multiplayer, I can understand some of the choices around, okay, these are the maps, and we're going to funnel everyone into these maps to make sure we have full, amount of players in each game or whatever quickly. I get some of that stuff. But yeah, if you're playing with friends, you should have the entire game available to you if you've unlocked it or otherwise.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Question for you. What controller were you using to play it?
I was playing. So John was playing. He plugged his Switch in on my TV because I was doing something else.
Yeah.
And so then I was just playing handheld on my Switch.
Okay.
So I guess with the Joy-Cons. So
okay.
Oh yeah. I forgot you owned it. I thought you were both using the same one.
No, you can't. I don't think you can. I don't think you can play split screen.
Okay.
I think you actually have to play online.
Okay.
I'm not positive, but we couldn't find a mode where you could like add a party member on the same system. So
that's kind of weird too.
Yeah,
I was asking because I know I remember I've got Splatoon 2 as well, and I only really played it at the beginning when it first came out, but I remember them hyping up like the Pro Controller as the preferred method because of the full like analog sticks, but then you tilt the whole controller to like aim where your ink goes and that type of thing. So I was just curious what your experience was.
John is a gyro man. He plays with the gyro controls.
There's people that swear by it completely.
I would never. I want to move that joystick. So
yeah,
I tried it when that's the default control if you play with the Pro Controller, and I think even if you play with the Joy-Cons, it's the default controls
probably.
But I immediately turned that off.
Okay,
just like I did in Breath of the Wild. Just like no thanks. It doesn't work poorly. But I just prefer to have a more tactile feel as opposed to like it kind of feeling floaty.
Sometimes those tilt controls are pretty decent though. But yeah, I know where you're coming from.
They do like I said in Breath of the Wild, they worked great. I never had an issue when I was messing around with them, but I just still preferred to have that. I don't know. It just doesn't. It just feels different to me. And I just prefer the joystick.
Takes some getting used to.
Yeah,
big time.
Yeah, and I don't know. Sometimes I'm just not sitting in the way I sit when I play a game or lay for that matter.
Right.
Is never in a proper position to really utilize that feature. So.
Right. And if you're playing portably, that's even harder to use tilt at that point because then you're moving your whole screen around.
Right.
That makes sense.
Yeah, but I didn't really have too much more else to say about Splatoon, other than I might dip into it. But again, those menus are so obtuse. Like this salmon run mode, you have to go into the menu and go to Grizzco, whatever the hell that means. But that's how you get to salmon run mode, which is apparently like you're feeding these golden salmon eggs to Mr. Grizz of the Grizzco Corporation.
All
so
right. He needs them.
Whatever the hell that all means. Yeah, go to Grizzco and play Salmon Run. It's pretty fun.
I want to. We should play it online.
I was just gonna say we should play together.
I would totally
be down
with
scratch that surface. Yeah. Do you own this game, Randy?
I do.
Or I meant to say DJ, but I'm glad that you own it, Randy. Do you own it, DJ?
Nah, I just owned the first one, and like my experience with that was I played it for maybe the first month or two after I bought it, but didn't really return to it. So I assumed I'd have kind of the same reaction with this one. So
it's definitely not much different. So
yeah, if it was maybe
Mikey still has it.
Yeah, he probably.
If he does, we should try to play some online together one of these days.
I'll rob my roommate.
Just borrow it.
Yeah,
just borrow it without asking.
I feel like if it was like $30, I'd maybe be tempted, but like I can't justify buying this for $60 based on how much I think I'll be using it.
Yeah. And it is, like I said, it is a little obtuse to get into, like the menus and the clothing and all the different upgrades and weapons. It's just like, what is going on? How do I get from here to here? It's cool. There's like a little hub city,
right?
That like each store is like a different tab of the menu, essentially.
Yep.
But it's a little hard to get around, and you can just go to a regular menu, but it's just labeled Grizzco. It's not labeled, horde mode or co-op.
Right?
It's like you have to know what Grizzco is
and
to understand what it is. So yeah, so that's it. But that's all the modes are. So yeah, again, a little obtuse to get into, and it's certainly not my favorite game, and it definitely feels more like a Sega game than a Nintendo game. But
I can see that.
But it looks beautiful. It looks great,
awesome
especially
looking.
The Wii U one looked great. The Switch one looks fantastic.
Yeah.
It's like everything looks so like shiny and like oily, and like it looks cool. The character designs are really cool. Yeah, it pops, and it has that jet grind radio.
It does
kind of vibe without the cell shading. It doesn't necessarily have the same look, but it has the same feel.
Yep. To
it, the same colors and the same. It feels
a lot of the
very
same vibes, honestly, as Jack.
Yeah, very lively. It just it's and the music. That's another thing we didn't mention. It has a very cool, just like all over the place, like kind of crazy soundtrack from I think a bunch of just like original artists.
I think you're right.
They just like hand selected a soundtrack, which is very un-Nintendo. So
this the series is huge in Japan at this point. So yeah,
and it feels that way.
Oh yeah,
it feels like it has some. It doesn't have typical Western sensibilities.
No,
in a lot of ways.
No,
but
cool game.
Yeah, but that pretty much wraps up Splatoon 2 there. Who wants to go next?
I guess I can go. I mean,
yeah, a little follow up from last week.
Yeah, my week has been solely dedicated to Bad North, which you turned me on to last week. Little real-time strategy game on the Switch that, surprisingly, you can get a real-time strategy to work well on the console, apparently.
It plays great. Yeah, I said the same thing last week, but it works great on a controller.
Yeah, I mean, the whole map is just set up, in a grid, so it's easy to be like, okay, like send these people to this tile. You're not selecting very particular points like you would in a normal RTS game.
Right.
But Jesus Christ, this game is hard.
And you dove in on hard mode right off the bat.
Yeah.
Right? You're just like, okay, I'm better.
My hubris.
Oh my gosh.
No, I'm starting to get to the point where I'm wanting to go to hard mode because I've been playing a little more this week, and the waves take a little longer to start building up at the beginning. So I'm like, even though I've not beaten it yet on normal, I've been thinking about moving to hard. But how's that experience been? Just diving right in.
Oh, geez. I mean, it is like challenging sometimes, like right away. Like I've had runs where I just died on like the second island just because. Like you just barely didn't have enough people, or you don't always you can't always calculate or how many of my guys are going to die from this.
It's not cut and dry. It's not like, hey, these 5 enemies are coming in. I have 9, so I'll have 4 left after. It's not cut and dry. It's like there's a little more ambiguity.
Okay,
yeah,
in a little random number generator thing going on there. Sometimes
a little bit,
yeah,
a little bit,
yeah.
And I think what makes the game particularly hard is in the later levels, you don't know what sorts of enemies are going to be coming your way necessarily. And I think that, if you knew ahead of time, how many of each enemy you could expect, I think maybe your choice of what types of units you may have in your squad would differ.
Right.
Yeah, I think we mentioned last week, there's either archers, piked, spear pikes, or sword and shield infantry.
Right. And it's maybe I actually only need 1 pikeman squad on this one, but I picked 2, and now I'm kind of screwed if a bunch of ranged enemies come in and they'll just wipe me out. So I think not knowing what you're going to get on some of these levels, it can really make or break you.
Yeah,
right.
You thankfully you are able to look at the map before you commit. You can go look at the island before you commit to. You can go back to the map after you've checked out the island before you deploy your troops.
Yeah,
and
you see
maybe
the
pick
layout
a different island
of the map. Yeah.
But you don't know all the enemies that are on that island before you get there, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
But you can at least see okay, this is there's a lot of elevation here, so I definitely want to have my archers and some because you can really take advantage of the archers and the pikes when you have if any enemies have to kind of come up a slope,
right?
You can just put some pikes at the top of the slope, and they're basically not going to get up,
right?
Not 100% of the time, but they're But again, if they're sending in waves of archers and you've got too many pikes and it's kind of flat land, you're screwed. They're going to start picking you off, and you can replenish your troops and whatnot. But this game is just I've been playing a lot more this week as well. Still on normal, like I said, but really having a good time.
Yeah, and there's a lot of different strategies too, because you can choose different ways to upgrade your squads. Do you want to make their base stats better, or do you want to give them these items and make the items more powerful, or do you want to give them these abilities? Your sword and shield guys can have an ability where they can jump off a cliff onto a group of enemies. Is that more valuable than upgrading all their stats? There's a lot of different ways to approach this game, and I'm still trying to figure out which is the best because I got 3 levels away from the end and I fucked it all up. So, I'm trying to find that perfect combination because I need to beat this game.
I'm curious, can you pour all of your resources into making a super troop amongst your different troops? Is that a possibility?
Well,
you
yes
can.
And no. You can only pour resources into troops that you are using on that island.
I see. So you can take 4 different units onto each island, and only those units can then get the coins that you collect at the end of the level.
Right.
Okay.
For keeping the houses on the island safe. That's how you collect coins, and then you spend those, or you give those coins to any given character. But then again, also, if that character, any upgrades you've given them, or items you've given them, or items you've upgraded, any coins they have currently, if they die, they're gone. Jeez. All the upgrades they have, everything you've ever given them, they take with them.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's what you were about to get at, DJ. But
the other troops that you aren't using aren't scaling with you at that point either, because they're not getting those coins, right?
Correct.
If I'm understanding. Right. Yeah.
So I pretty much try to stick to 4 to 6 troops,
right?
Squads, because aside from that, I'm not going to bother trying to upgrade everyone. I'd rather just make, a few squads as powerful as possible and make them just super elite.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, so you start out with 2 squads every time. Is that how it is on hard as well? Yep. So 2 squads that are just kind of like a base unit that is not any of those 3 classes that we kind of mentioned before. And then once you get, I think, 6 coins, you can then choose between the archer, the infantry, and the pikes.
Okay.
But yeah, like DJ was saying, sometimes you can really get in a bind because that basic unit is basically just like a small dagger sword that with no shields, so they really have no defense. You really have to kind of just, I don't know, not wing it, but you're really
hope for the best.
Yeah, you're really at your wit's end right off the bat almost, especially in hard mode. I was watching DJ play a little bit, and I was like, whoa, these waves of enemies are extreme compared to, like...
It's sweet when you're getting dozens at a time, and you're just mowing them down with your pikes or your archers. It's a great feeling.
Yeah, and the game has
blood.
I was just going to say, it's funny you mentioned that, because I was just going to say, the game has like a really nice, like almost like calming aesthetic to it. And the blood is not overly, I know we've mentioned it about a couple other games before, but it's not like, or about Ape Out or something, but it's not like overly...
It's not grotesque.
Yeah, it's just like a kind of like dark red, like splotches. It's not like spurting out. It just kind of like stains the land where the enemies were killed.
Yeah. They just
can
go like,
turn that off. Yeah, when they do that, it's like, There's like little tiny sound effects like we mentioned before. Yeah, there's almost no music. Just kind of like a little pulsing, like drum rhythm in the background with sound effects. Really, it's really just really minimalistic across the board. But you can turn that blood off if it's something that bothers you. And otherwise, this game just has a really nice aesthetic. It kind of has two different aesthetics too, which I really appreciate. Both, the game aesthetic, but then when you're on the map and you're looking at like the kind of 2D hand-drawn map and characters and stuff like that, it just is a really clean, well put together game.
Yeah. I think some extra details would, make it better, like being able to, really easily see how many people in your squad are left, like we talked about, or on the map you can see like, okay, if I go to this island, there's another squad commander I can get, or there's an item that will be on this island, but you don't know like what kind of squad it will be, like if it's going to be a squad of archers or something, or you don't know what item you're going to get. And I think because you can't hit up every island, you do kind of have to like choose like, okay, I'm going to take this path. Like it is kind of risky because it'd be like, oh, like I want to get this item, and I hope for like the items that increase your squad size. But if I get something like the Warhammer, where like you get to just pick a tile to slam down on once a map, like I find that a lot less valuable, and it would definitely affect the paths I would take. But maybe that's just part of the difficulty of the game that was intended. Like, and
I do like that. I do like that
cool.
kind of, you kind of have to like live with the choices you make. Yeah, I really appreciate that about this game, how it really has like a true roguelike feel. You're not buying these upgrades for like, oh, now my pikes are permanently awesome. They're just like, you start from scratch every time. And I really like that feeling of helplessness, I guess, just like it makes you got to get up for the run each time, And
a lot of these runs take between like an hour and 2 hours, maybe up to 3 hours if you're going to actually beat it. But, even after being on one of those runs, if I die, I'm just like, okay, just starting another one. Like I'm that hooked.
Yeah. And they are like, even though not to make it sound overwhelming, they are like little bite-sized islands, and you can save your run and pick up right where you left off. You can't cheese it or anything, but you can like say, okay, each island takes 5 minutes max, 5-6 minutes. So you can, after you've done a few, like I usually do like maybe 5 or 10, maybe 15, and then okay, I've had about enough. I'll take a little break for a while. So it depends on the mood I'm in, but yeah, I've been finding myself playing in shorter bursts, but it's perfect either way.
It's very healthy of you.
It's nice. It's nice that you can save it an island and then close the game out completely instead of just putting it in idle mode or whatever, where you're kind of stuck with that in a 3-hour run. So,
right. Yeah. So, anything else you wanted to add on that?
I plan to play more of it.
In hard mode, me too.
Hard mode, yes.
Okay.
And I'm actually thinking about I'm planning on playing more as well, and probably going to bump it up to hard mode myself. So
it feels like that's the way it was intended. Yeah, because I almost think it was like that was the default.
It defaults to normal for sure. I didn't change any settings when I other than turning the tutorial off. It just Well, I don't know. Moonlighter defaulted to hard, so
Well, we didn't do our research.
But no, I agree with you though that hard feels more, once you get the hang of it.
Yeah,
hard feels like the way to play, because it does feel like the first like 4 or 5 islands, maybe even 6 islands when you're playing on normal, are just kind of, you're just going through the motions of the beginning of the game, which is, you know, something like some of these better or roguelikes that I've really appreciated, you know, like Enter the Gungeon and stuff like that, or Downwell. You know, they either let you breeze right through that initial opening of the game, or like in Downwell, for example, you can kind of bounce off a bunch of enemies and rack up combos that allow you to either get more health or more ammo and stuff like that. And you can use those opening kind of easier stages to buff up and kind of play in like the more meta strategy, you know? So right. I always appreciate that when the game allows you to take those different approaches. So yeah, I do agree that hard mode is probably the way to take this game.
Oh yeah,
to get the right pace, you know,
to get the right anxiety.
Well, not to keep shutting you out here, Randy, but let me just talk real quickly, since it's a relatively smooth transition here into another roguelike. surprise, yet again, that I've been playing, and I've only played a handful, like literally 2 or 3 runs, so it's something that I'm probably going to follow up on. But it's a game called UnExplored that I've had on my Switch for a little while. That I think it was a pretty big hit on PC and then got ported, and it definitely feels a little clunky. It definitely feels like it probably plays and controls a little smoother on PC just because of all the menus and stuff you have to navigate, and just like being able to hover over things with a mouse seems like it would be ideal.
Yeah.
As opposed to like pulling up all these menus. But I'm just starting to get the hang of, like, you know, the left trigger pulls up the map, the right trigger pulls up the inventory, you know, you can pause the games, but if you don't specifically pause it when you're opening up the map and the inventory, it doesn't pause. So like all these weird little quirks, which you know, thankfully it does have a ton of options. I think you can change that stuff to like, hey, pause the game when I pull up the inventory. I think you can change a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
Whether that specific setting or not, I don't know for sure, but there's a ton of settings, both in different like difficulties, game modes. You can even, it's another you know, dungeon crawler top down kind of deal. It's a really kind of another minimalistic aesthetic, not quite as minimalist as Bad North, but
pretty minimalist though visually.
Yeah, it's hard to decipher. Like we were talking about this a little bit earlier, but it's like, you're like, is my character a person?
Yeah.
Is it just like I don't think it is. I think it is supposed to be some kind of like hairy monster thing, because like the art, it looks like sort of like a Viking, but it has like a weird, like its legs look like furry and stuff.
Don't you have like only one eye or something?
Yeah, it's weird. It's a weird aesthetic for sure. But and even the gameplay is a little weird. You know, it's like a twin stick almost, and you have a sword, and you can equip one thing in each hand. You can get spears and swords and all kinds of different weapons. Again, I've only scratched the surface, so I'm sure there's a lot more. But you basically just have to touch enemies, and then once you touch an enemy with that sword, it'll turn from white to black, and then there's like a short cooldown, and then once it turns white again, then you can attack. And then you can also then use the triggers to like swipe those weapons, or if you have a dagger, you can throw the dagger. And basically, from what I understand, is you're basically just trying to like explore these dungeons and get all the way down. The dungeon itself is, I think it's called like the Dungeon of Doom or something stupid like that. But you just have to get down 20 floors and find this Ankh, and then bring it all the way back up to the top and escape. And that's like the premise of the game. But you go through and you find items, you collect them, and every time you die, all those items then that you've collected throughout the run then turn into gold and whatever, and then you can spend those on the next run to like buy a few things to take with you, whether it's like potions or health rations, or you can even buy like the tavern keeper, who's like the host or whatever of the game, or like the, you know, kind of guiding you through the menus or whatever. You can buy him a beer and he'll like give you a hint or maybe give you an item to take with you.
Nice.
So it's again, I've only scratched the surface, and I'm just kind of finally starting to have it feel a little bit more intuitive. So I kind of more just wanted to bring it up in the sense to encourage myself to keep playing this game. I figure if I talk about it on the podcast, I'll want to follow up a little bit more. But it's a game that I was kind of hot and cold on. Like it would catch my eye, and then I'd watch some gameplay, and it would look a little strange. It's a little hard to decipher, but it is it works a lot better in action and when you're in control than when you're just watching video of it. And there's just little cool quirks like you can find a little like barred window that if you go look through it, you can't get through it, but you can look through it and then get a little peek of like that area of the map before you get over there. And there is a little bit of slowdown while the levels generate. It like lets you know like, oh, the next floor has been generated for whatever reason.
Are they auto-generated levels?
Yeah, it's all procedurally generated.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Shoot.
So it's come on, it's another roguelike, Randy. What do you
I didn't realize it was
What do you expect from me?
I guess that's true. That's fair.
but yeah, no, it's all randomly generated, and there's all kinds of crazy settings. Like you can change it to have like more monsters, like have it be more combat focused. You can change it to be more puzzle focused and have there be more like traps and puzzles and stuff. You can check both of those boxes and have it be both, and there's more rewards, but obviously more risk because you got to solve more puzzles and have more enemies to deal with. And you can take a torch and burn a poison cloud and have that all burn up, and you can swim. There's a lot of possibilities here in this game. I think they're doing a lot. And again, they announced UnExplored 2, which is what caught my eye. Has a totally different art style. It's like 3D cell shaded. Still kind of same deal, like a top down, looks like same kind of general gameplay, but caught my eye and I was like, I've had this game sitting on my Switch for a while. I should go check it out, which I don't know for how long the sale is going on. I think it's till the end of the month here, but it's still on sale at the moment on the Nintendo Switch for I think under $5. So
damn,
definitely recommend checking it out if you're into. Again, this does seem like it's another one that like you can save and quit and pick up where you left off. It seems like if you are to do a full run of like down 20 floors and back up, it's going to be a long game, like like 3, 4, 5 hours, I would guess. So
damn.
It seems like it's got a good. I'm just guessing, but I mean, it seems like a very committal roguelike. It's more true to a true rogue experience.
Have you gotten to the Ankh yet?
God, no. I've gotten to like the 3rd or 4th floor. I like I said, I've only put a tiny bit of time into this game. Like I really feel like I still don't even really feel like I've figured it out. I watched like a couple like developer videos of like, here's a few tips of how to go about playing this game. Here's a few strategies, because it was a little obtuse. I did feel the need to look up some more information. Like I felt like I was maybe missing something, but it's also meant. But there's all kinds of just tons of items and tons of different scrolls and curses. Like if you equip a cursed item, you can't take it off. But you don't know it's cursed until you put it on, and like all kind. It's pretty cool. It leaves you. It has that Cave Blazers kind of feel, DJ, where it's like you don't know. You just have to kind of like try stuff out and like take what you get. And
so, does it feel like you necessarily have to fail a bunch of times before you can be well equipped to actually beat it, or could you maybe theoretically beat it on your first couple runs?
I think you could. Well, DJ could beat it on your first couple runs, but I don't think it's. At least for me, I think you definitely need to figure out what is even going on. Okay, I think it takes a few runs to even understand the flow of the game.
But it's not like you haven't unlocked enough, so you're not going to be powerful enough on
I don't think it's like that at all. Like I think you get that gold that you can spend pre-run, but it's pretty much only like health and potions. Like I don't think you can really buy like more powerful weapons. But again, I've only played a little bit. That I could be totally wrong. There's definitely a huge pool of empty slots that I'm assuming are going to get filled in as I progress. So
okay.
I don't know, but I will hopefully keep you guys posted on that one. And
for under $5, I'm curious. So
okay, cool. Well, that's all I really had to say about that one. So I've been talking a bunch, but I know you've been playing something else, Randall, this week, I would imagine.
Yes.
So
yes, another follow-up from last week's podcast. I have now beat Blossom Tales, which I'm excited about.
Nice.
Yeah. Ended up with the clock in the game says 15 and a half hours, which is pretty good.
Nice.
Yeah. Especially
that's a pretty meaty, for like an indie title. That's a pretty meaty game.
And I still have not found everything despite beating it. Like there was part of me that was like, oh, I kind of want to get all the scrolls and I kind of want to fill out all of these slots because, there's 2 missing active items that I could choose from. I still don't know what those are or where those are located. If I beat the boss, am I going to come back to it? So, but at some point I'm like, I want to talk about it on the podcast. I want to beat this game. It's been a minute since I beat a game. I'm excited and I'm really enjoying Blossom Tales. And so I want to keep that momentum going. So I did. Made it to, but my main man, the evil wizard Crocus.
So it's Crocus.
It is officially Crocus. I've decided.
In pursuing Pixel's lore, it is Crocus.
I am going to ask those guys. I want to ask them what their pronunciation is.
Well, we're telling them.
They never used voiceover in their game to tell us what it is. So,
That's probably a good thing.
But I went to Crocus's fortress, which was not easy, I'll say. It ramps up the difficulty a little bit, which I appreciate. DJ had kind of mentioned last week about how you get a certain amount of hearts and the difficulty curve kind of evens out a little bit where you don't have to worry about most enemies. And I was kind of experiencing that too. I had 15 hearts when I ended, and like, most of these enemies, they are tougher, but I have so many hearts that it's really a non-factor most of the time. But
and potions.
Yeah, and potions. Yeah, geez, I had like 10 or 11 potions, I think. And I just never used them because, you
didn't even feel fair.
Yeah, I know, right? And
I did notice them dishing out the hearts.
What was that?
Yeah, I was going to say, I did notice them dishing out hearts, where I wouldn't even, I should say I didn't even notice. I would just think I took a bunch of hits and then I'd look up and be like, wait, I'm at full health?
Yeah.
What happened? So
you broke those jars in the corners and they had a bunch more hearts and coins.
Exactly. But sorry to cut you off.
Oh, no worries. I love talking about this game. So, in Crocus's fortress, that started ramping up where there's a little bit trickier floor puzzles, which I still loved all the floor puzzles. I think they're really well done. And then there'll be sections where there'll be these enemies shooting kind of homing orbs at you while you're trying to go on this very, very tiny path. And then there'll be parts of the path as it's disappearing that are forcing you in a direction, kind of like it's like an auto-scrolling moving walk where, if you don't just kind of fight against the current, you're going to get pushed off the side and have to start from the beginning of that path again. So and you have to do the whole sequence successfully, or you just start right back at the beginning of it. So those areas were pretty difficult in the fortress. Definitely fell off multiple times. That slowed me down a bit, but that's okay. I don't mind difficulty. So definitely got some really cool items towards the end too, like this fireball shot. That was kind of my go-to. Did you experience that one much, DJ?
Yeah, I mean, once I got the lightning in the last one, it was just like, okay, this is what I'm using to take out just groups at a time. It's just I think it's the best item.
Which I felt stupid because I got the lightning, but I never actually really used it. I tried it once or twice, but I didn't realize that it won't do anything unless you're close to an enemy. It doesn't even show that it happens unless you're close to an enemy. So
yeah, that's fair. There's no visual indication if you're not near anybody that it would do anything.
Right. As opposed to the fireball, it's going to shoot the fireball regardless, even if you aim and miss. So I'm like, yeah, whatever. I'm kind of comfortable with this fireball. It does pretty decent. It's basically like you take the bomb and it shoots all the way across the screen, and explodes and has a pretty good blast radius. So I'm like, okay, this is my jam. And
yeah, I guess it did feel like there are a lot of just different ways you can approach enemies. It didn't, for the most part, wasn't like this enemy only gets damaged by this specific item. It's just like, okay, well, I want to use the boomerang, or I want to use.
Yeah, I don't know about early on. I feel like there was definitely a boss or two that I fought. Again, I definitely played less than you guys of this game, but there was definitely a boss where you had to hit it with a bomb or hit it with an arrow. I can't remember the order, but you definitely had to hit it with the arrow right in the eye thing, and then throw a bomb at it to do damage. So it had some prescription to what you had to do, but I do agree that it had a little more fluidity or a little more versatility than a Zelda game. Again, not to keep drawing those comparisons, but Zelda games are super scripted in that regard,
Yeah.
So at least a lot of times.
That is a good point, though, because towards the end, you could use, I didn't really actively think about that, but you could use practically any item that does damage that you felt most comfortable with and complete the game that way, which is really cool.
Yeah. And also, like, in terms of the puzzles, like, most of them weren't item based. They were like,
right.
The walk on this path so that you never touch a tile more than once, or
they were like brain based puzzles.
Yes.
Yeah. Like you actually had to solve a puzzle with your brain,
which I love those. They're awesome.
Yeah, they were cool. There were a few finesse puzzles. Like there were some cool puzzles with the boomerang too, where you had to like throw the boomerang but then like move in a certain way that would like make the boomerang, you had to get it to follow you in a certain pattern. Like you couldn't just throw it, you had to maneuver.
Right. But in a game where you can only equip 2 items at a time, it's good that the puzzles aren't mainly based around that, where you have to keep switching in and out.
So you basically have to say, hey, my boomerang is in this dungeon and I can only pick one other item. Yeah, it's cool that you can pick 2.
Or all of these puzzles are based on the boomerang, so you're only going to use that in this fortress. It wasn't anything like that, which is nice.
Yeah, I definitely need to go back to this game now that you guys have both cleaned it off your list.
You just need to finish games, Kevin. You never finish games.
That is probably true, but I still got a little ways to go. But what else throughout the? I mean, was there a nice finale? To the boss battle was I found the boss battles also to be pretty interesting in this game. I think you mentioned, Randall, last week, like them kind of having almost like a bullet hell vibe to them at times. Maybe not as extreme as that, but definitely more frantic and dodgy than you typically get in top-down adventure.
In this type of game, in this type in action RPGs, you're not seeing a lot of bullet hell patterns from bosses. So
right,
kind of a cool, unique spin that they put on it. And Evil Wizard Crocus was no different. He had like multiple different patterns, and I definitely enjoyed the battle. With Fireball took him out pretty effectively, but still kind of had the heart pumping a little bit. And anytime when you watch a story close and you get those end credits, it just feels good. So happy to have played through this game. I probably will power it back up to see. There's definitely, you can tell on the map, there's some places still that I haven't seen, like maybe like 6 or 7 tiles that are kind of shrouded by clouds.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know. So I'll go back, see if I can't find those last 3 scrolls and some of those other, active and passive items that I'm just missing to kind of complete that out and get close to 100% completion that way, just because I like being in that world. It's fun.
God, I wish there was some way I could have just an idea of where the remaining scrolls are, because for all I know, they could be like even in the dungeons that we've already done. So
there's definitely possibility.
Just gotta scour the entire fucking game.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe you should just look. I
want to give
YouTube.
Elisa her scrolls. I want to make her happy.
I know, right? To see what it is that happens at that point. So yeah, that's a whole other part of the game that we're not even sure. What's the resolution there as far as giving all the scrolls to Elisa.
Maybe she's the real final boss.
That would be cool.
Yeah. Who knows, man? Who knows? I'll let you guys know when I beat it.
Sounds good. It better be when and not if, Kevin.
Yeah. We'll see. I'm not making any promises.
So yeah, still an overwhelming recommendation from me. I definitely enjoyed my time and, finally beat a game for the first time in a long time. So
nice, man. Nice. And I think, are we all confident to just wholeheartedly give that the Pursuing Pixels stamp of recommendation?
Yep, gets whatever the PP stamp.
Oh boy. Put the trademark on that one.
Oh man, maybe not. We'll see. I like that though.
Yes, it does. It does get the PP stamp. Oh boy.
All right. No, that's good. But yeah, I had one more game I wanted to talk about this week. If you guys don't mind,
we'll indulge you.
I've been playing a little another sort of puzzle game. It's like a card based, move based, whatever you want to call it, puzzle game called Golf Peaks.
Yeah,
which I picked up on sale for $3.50 on the eShop. It's normally only $5, so it's I think it originated as an iOS game or a mobile game, but it's basically it's like a an isometric view, and you can basically you can take a shot in any of the intercardinal directions, so like northwest, southwest, northeast, southeast. And you basically can, all the cards will be, you can either take like a putt that will go, either, it's like tile based, so everything will go either one tile or two tiles.
Right.
But you'll have a tile that'll either show like a chip shot that'll go one tile in the air and then two tiles on the ground, or two tiles in the air and one tile on the ground, and you'll have an assortment of 1 to 4 to 5 or 6. I haven't seen any that have been more than like 5 or 6 cards. But you have these set amount of shots, and you basically just have to solve the puzzle. There's like, when it starts off, it's just basically get the ball in the hole using these moves that you have. These cards or moves that you have to utilize. Each one is like, it's just, each level is like a prescribed, you get the same cards, and you just have to utilize that set of cards to get the ball into the hole. And it's always the same every time.
Okay.
So it's
a puzzle, really.
Yeah, it's a total puzzle game for sure.
Knowing you, I just assumed it was like an actual golf game.
No. This is like pure puzzle with a golf theme.
Okay.
And so
it's more up my alley, I'd say.
Yeah, it's really fun. And actually, our buddy John, who we've mentioned now a few times just on this episode of this podcast, but he recommended this game to me, and I think I even mentioned, like, I sent it to him just like, hey, this looks pretty cool, and he just bought it right away and was like, hey, this game's sweet. I had a great time, so I picked it up as well. And there's bunkers, like as you progress, you start out with just kind of regular flat land, and then there'll be a little elevation. So like, for example, if you have a card, you can putt 2 tiles, but you need to get the ball into the hole that's right behind you, like right to the southeast of you. Mm-hmm. You can putt in the northwest direction. This is getting confusing here, but you can putt in the northwest direction or the upper left direction and have it bounce off the wall if it's at a higher elevation. So that counts as 1 tile, and then back in the opposite direction to go back into the hole. Whereas if you were to putt just straight at the hole, it would blow right past it by a tile.
Little putt action going on there.
Exactly, yeah. So you're playing like your moves of like, or for example, like when you have these chip shots, once you start getting the elevation into play and you can take shots that go into the air, not only can you get above those lips instead of bouncing off them, but then you can, like, if you have a shot per se that, or let's say that would carry over 2 tiles and then land and roll 2 tiles. If it lands in a bunker, it's just going to land and not roll.
Right.
So then you have to figure out, okay, do I need to utilize all this rolling, or maybe I need to waste this tile or waste this card, not waste this card, but you spend it on like getting the ball over this gap, because sometimes they're not even connected. You have to actually like cross over an empty space.
Right.
But I can't afford to have it roll because it'll roll off the edge. Or it'll roll, it's almost like a similar perspective to Bad North. It's like, other than you can't rotate the camera, but it's like that isometric, top-down perspective.
So does it seem like there are multiple ways you could approach any course, or?
It seems like some are that way, and some seem like they're a little more prescribed. It does seem like they set it up in ways that you, like, no matter what way you go, you can probably do the same general solution in a few different paths.
Okay. Right.
So it's not like, oh, if you make the wrong first shot, you're screwed.
Okay.
But you can also just hit B on the Switch. I'm playing this on the Switch, but the back button on whatever system you're playing it on to go back like one move at a time. I'm making myself like get through it all in one turn, essentially. So like if I mess up, I'm going back all the way to the beginning and then starting again. But that's just like a personal, I could just be like, oh shit, I clicked the wrong card. Let me go back one move and do it again.
If it's like, that everything up to that point was definitely correct. It's like, why waste the time to.
Right, exactly. Okay. So you can just do it one move at a time.
So you're like laying out a sequence of cards and then watching all those actions. Am I getting that right?
You're doing it. No, you're doing it one at a time.
Oh, okay.
But you can after you make one move, if you're like, oh shit, I didn't mean to click that, or just like, oh, that didn't work the way I thought it would. You can just hit B and go back one turn at a time.
Okay.
But then you can hit B again and go back the previous turn, and you can go back each move one at a time, essentially.
Gotcha. Okay.
And there it's basically, it's a pretty, again, it was originally a mobile game. There's like, I think there's at the right on the title screen, it just says there's like 108 levels. And there's always like 9 levels and then 3 like challenging ones in each world that that are just like a little bit tougher and like maybe have a little bit more of like an open-ended solution. And they incorporate like water and mud and bunkers and all that stuff. But some of them, like the mud, for example, like it really doesn't take effect unless you land on that tile. Like if you putt it, it'll just roll right over it. But if you land on it, then it'll get like absorbed and go back to like a safe space that isn't mud or isn't water. The water, on the other hand, if you hit it into the water, as soon as it touches the water, it's in the water. But then there's like the world that I just got to. I think I'm on the 5th world now. Has like these elevation platforms. So like as soon as the ball lands on that tile, it'll like launch it into the air. If it still has more distance to cover, it'll launch it into the air and it'll stay in the air. So like if I putt it 4 tiles and it hits on the second tile, it'll launch into the air and then travel 2 more tiles into the air. So it has a lot of like, I don't know. It's been interesting. I've definitely been stumped. It's one of those like, I'll play a bunch of holes and then I get stumped and then I'm like, okay, I'm going to turn it off. And then I come back the next day and I'm kind of like, okay, oh, now I see the solution. It's one of those kind of games. So it's, again, I don't think there's there's plenty of levels. And for the $3.50 I paid for it, or even $5, I wouldn't scoff at that for 1 second. But
this is just like a couple minutes per level.
Yeah, it depends. Again, on some of the ones I've been stumped on, I play for like 5-10 minutes and still not finish it and just like, I gotta come back to this. So it just depends. But some of them I breeze through in 20 seconds. You know, you just you stumble on the solution right away, or sometimes I just kind of see it like, oh, here's clearly the way I'm supposed to do this. But it isn't that way every time. And they are mixing up the puzzles. They're growing on themselves each time, but they're also like mixing it up in ways that you can't just like, it doesn't just build on itself in a way that's just clearly, oh, I'm just mastering the flow. It's like you do have to change up your thought process and your strategy. Like they'll give you different loops of like, you're getting the groove of like, oh, I get how this water mechanic works, but now all of a sudden I have only chip shots to work with. I can't just like put it in the water and have it and waste that card. You know, you just have to rethink how you go about each level. But definitely finding it fun and a perfect like play it on the Switch handheld right before I go to bed, or you know, while I'm watching a TV show and mindlessly, you know, or not mindlessly playing this while I'm mindlessly watching a TV show, right? and committing, you know, my brain power to playing this game. So definitely having a good time playing that. Just again, like real clean, minimalist aesthetic. You know, not too far off from something like Monument Valley. Not quite as inventive as that. You know, it's real just kind of basic looking at the same time. But yeah, I don't know, that sounds like a slight. I don't know exactly how to explain it, but it's just real. It's really simple, but a really fun, clever take on a golf card-based puzzle game.
Yeah, you convinced me. I'm going to be grabbing this one when we're done here. It sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's definitely cool, and definitely curious to see what you guys think.
Yeah,
or see what you think at least, Randall.
Yeah.
He doesn't care what I think.
Well, I don't know if you're going to pick it up or not.
I'll probably snag it.
Yeah, $3.50.
Yeah, came into a lot of eShop money.
Ooh, there
lately.
You go. There
Birthday
you go.
Boy.
That's right.
DJ Warbucks over
there. Swimming in cash.
That's right.
All right. So that pretty much wraps up everything we've been playing this week. And in the past, we've been trying to pick a game each week, and that's become a little bit overwhelming to, you know, just to squeeze in and if we're in the right mood to play. So I think we're going to try something a little different. We're not necessarily going to select that at this particular moment, but
not this moment.
I think we're yeah, but I think we're going to try to shoot for picking a game each month that we can all come together for, like the last episode each month or the first episode of each month, whatever we end up deciding. We'll figure that out later and we'll touch on that next week, but we'll pick a game and that we can all kind of follow along with and play. And then otherwise, we can kind of just, you know, do it kind of more of what we did this week, even though we all did play Breakforcist Battle, but just kind of do the roundtable free for all kind of thing. So that's what we'll be doing next week. You know, we'll just talk about what we've been playing in the meantime. Hopefully DJ can polish off Bad North and maybe move on to something new. But if not, we can
Bad North forever.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't have a problem with that. I'm actually looking forward to having a little more time to sink my teeth into something that I've been, you know, maybe holding off on for a while, right. But at the same time being at not being at the mercy of the weekly game of like, oh man, I gotta make some time for this, because a week is a lot shorter.
It goes by fast.
I didn't play Breakforcist Battle until today.
Yeah, case in point. And that was kind of what got me thinking about it. Was just like, I don't want us to feel the pressure of like, I don't want us to ever feel like we have to play these games. I want us to play games because we like playing video games. That's why we started doing this in the first place. So
sure,
I don't want to feel like I can't play Bad North.
That's what really this is all about.
That's really what it's all about. We'll be, as soon as DJ beats Bad North, we'll be right back to business as usual. But no. So we'll be discussing over the next week or so if what we're all kind of in the mood for, and we'll follow up with that next week. But until then, I think we can pretty much wrap it up there. So thanks for listening, everyone. And this has been Pursuing Pixels. Hope you all have a great week and great rest of the day. And we'll catch you next time.
Bye.
Take care. I like that you can, I didn't even notice you could do this, but when you're on the main screen of the Switch, you can actually sort your games by most time played.
Yeah, I think they just added that in the last update.
I wish they would show the time played in the like next to the game title.
That would be cool.
But it is still cool to like the other day I put it like that, and I was just like scrolling up from the bottom, and I was like, look at all these games I've never even booted up.
Oh my god!
Like there's like over 40.
Yeah, actually, let me do that right now. I'm sure it's a bloodbath.
I have not booted up a game.
It's probably since since Cadence.
I think.
Have you played Cave Story?
I know I've booted up this, so I must have at least booted up.
Oh, this is bad.
And I booted up. I booted up Figment. I booted up this, I think, too, to just look at the menu, but definitely haven't played it. But I played this for like a sec, so I think I've at least. But I don't remember booting up Katana Zero.
You must have.
But only to look at the title screen.
Yeah.
I've never even touched it. So just to be safe. So this whole row, we'll just start with this game.
1, 2.
Oh, I lost count here.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 11.
I'm at like 60.
65.
I'm at 65.
Yeah. I've got 60.
Jesus Christ, guys.
That's horrible.
I'm probably at
what the fuck?
3.
It's a fucking problem.
I should add up what I've spent on all the. No, I definitely shouldn't.
And a lot of these other ones above it are ones that I just started like one time.